Good morning, Facebook. Today is the 3rd of April, 2020, and the time is 11:28 a.m. There are a number of important bits of info out there today. First, let's get the numbers out of the way. The total number of cases worldwide, according to worldometers.info/coronavirus, has officially surpassed 1 million. As of this morning, there were a total of 1,067,318 positive or confirmed cases of COVID-19. The worldwide death count is currently 56,728. Over a quarter of the total number of cases worldwide comes from the United States. We are reporting currently a total of 259,750 positive or confirmed cases of coronavirus in the United States, with a total of 6,603 fatalities nationwide. Washington State remains the 10th worst affected state, reporting 6,585 positive or confirmed cases and 272 fatalities. According to the same report, the state of Illinois is at ninth place, one ahead of Washington State, with 7,695 cases. Interestingly, even though they're reporting 1,110 more positive or confirmed cases than Washington State, they are reporting barely more than half of the mortality rate that we have, with only 157 deaths thus far. The Washington State Department of Health's website is still struggling to maintain up-to-date figures, with the latest update being 11:59 p.m. on April 1st. As of that update, my home county of Pierce County was reporting 368 positive or confirmed cases and a total of 7 fatalities. As I have been predicting for many days now, Washington State Governor Jay Inslee has now officially extended his statewide stay home, stay safe proclamation through May the 4th. The lockdown was set to expire in 3 days as of midnight on April 6th. It will now be more than a month before non-essential employees will return to work and life can begin to return to normal, according to details provided in a press release. The following is the full story released by the governor's official state website. Inslee extends Stay Home, Stay Healthy order through May 4th. Governor Jay Inslee announced a month-long extension of his Stay Home, Stay Healthy emergency order Thursday evening. The order, which banned all gatherings and temporarily shuttered non-essential businesses, will continue through May 4th. Epidemiological modeling from the University of Washington predicts we will have at least 1,400 deaths this year, Inslee said. Quote, "We are yet to see the full toll of this virus in our state, and the modeling we've seen could be much worse if we don't continue what we're doing to slow the spread." Public gatherings remain banned and non-essential businesses may reopen May 5th. If gatherings are held in violation of the order, individuals are encouraged to notify their local police department, but not to call 911. The State Department of Commerce is providing guidance and assistance to businesses on whether they can be considered essential and other resources they may access to help during this time. Residents or workers concerned about non-essential businesses remaining open may file complaints at a link provided on that website. Quote, "We have taken dozens of steps under my emergency powers to help people in this time, including moratoriums on evictions, mortgage forbearance, utility ratepayer assistance, unemployment extensions, flexibility on tax payments, and cash assistance to families," Inslee said. Quote, "We will do more." Part of that effort is the sacrifice of business owners who had to shut down and of their workers who struggle to pay bills, Inslee said, and it is important for us to work toward coming out of this statewide shutdown. For example, the administration is engaging in productive conversations with industries to devise a safe way for them to get back to work when we can lift that part of the order. More information on resources available to Washingtonians impacted financially by the COVID 19 outbreak can be found again at coronavirus.wa.gov. In addition to the extension of the Stay Home, Stay Healthy order, the governor signed a directive to the Department of Enterprise Services and the Emergency Management Division to secure personal protective equipment as expeditiously as possible. Also Thursday, Inslee announced a delay in the implementation of new state building codes from July 1st to November 1st to provide adequate time for training and outreach that was interrupted by the coronavirus outbreak. These codes relate to construction and occupancy of residential and commercial structures throughout the state. Given that many Washingtonians won't be able to return to their jobs for at least another month, there is sure to be a spike in worry and uncertainty among homeowners across the state. Yesterday, I began citing the CARES Act, H.R. 748, to convey the specifics of relief for homeowners who may be experiencing financial hardship as a result of COVID 19. The most pertinent verbiage in the legislation appears in Section 4022. During the covered period, a borrower with a federally backed mortgage loan experiencing a financial hardship due directly or indirectly to the COVID 19 emergency may request forbearance on the federally backed mortgage loan, regardless of delinquency, by A, submitting a request to the borrower's servicer, and B, affirming that the borrower is experiencing a financial hardship during the COVID 19 emergency. The duration of the forbearance upon a request by the borrower for forbearance under paragraph 1, such forbearance shall be granted for up to 180 days and shall be extended for an additional period of up to 180 days at the request of the borrower, provided that, at the borrower's request, either the initial or extended period of forbearance may be shortened. There are also provisions within the following sections, sections 4023 and 4024, pertaining to renters and how renters are being protected. There is a lot of legalese in that law, but it goes on to essentially state that a tenant who's renting from a homeowner who has been granted forbearance on their loan cannot be evicted purely for delinquency and rent. This doesn't mean that a person who's being disruptive or who's being a nuisance or a problem tenant cannot be evicted. They can, but not if the only reason for eviction would be a non-payment of rent or delinquency. Shifting gears a little bit, when the president stated through social media on March 19th that a combination of drugs, hydrochloroquine and azithromycin, could be an effective treatment against coronavirus, he was subjected to a backlash of mockery and skepticism, one which went so far as to implicitly blame the president for the death of an Arizona man who ingested fish tank cleaner to treat himself against the virus. The late Arizonan and his wife, they're a couple whose names are Wanda and Greg, although they've declined to provide their last name, confused the chloroquine drug with a chemical called chloroquine phosphate, which they realized they kept in their home. After they each took a teaspoon of the chemical, they both fell seriously ill, and Greg lost his life. Upon recovering from the ordeal, Wanda was interviewed by NBC and took direct aim at the president. Quote, "My advice is don't believe anything that the president says and his people because they don't know what they're talking about." End quote. This commentary gained national attention, and several media outlets were quick to amplify it. Axios, on March 23, 2020, stated in a tweet, "A man has died after ingesting chloroquine phosphate, one of the malaria drugs that Trump has mentioned in recent days." That's the end of the tweet. No, that's absolutely untrue. No one from the White House or within any official government capacity ever said that chloroquine phosphate, a fish tank or aquarium cleaner, was a malaria drug. That is absolutely false. Now, Axios has since admitted their mistake and deleted the tweet and apologized. And Wanda, ostensibly racked with grief for her loss and shame at her own ignorance and impulsiveness, has since deleted her own social media accounts after news outlets attempted to contact her through Facebook. Now, encouragingly, there has been some development in the use and efficacy of hydroxychloroquine in the treatment of coronavirus. This is a story from the Washington Post dated yesterday, April 2nd. Hydroxyquin rated most effective coronavirus treatment, a poll of doctors has found. Hydroxyquin, an international poll of thousands of doctors, rated the anti-malaria drug hydroxychloroquine as the best treatment for novel coronavirus. Of the 6,227 physicians surveyed in 30 countries, 37% rated hydroxychloroquine as the most effective therapy for combating the potentially deadly illness, according to the results released Thursday. The survey, conducted by the global healthcare polling company Sermo, also found that 23% of medical professionals had prescribed the drug in the United States, far less than other countries. Outside the United States, hydroxychloroquine was equally used for diagnosed patients with mild to severe symptoms, whereas in the United States it was most commonly used for high-risk diagnosed patients, the survey found. The medicine was most widely used in Spain, where 72% of physicians said they had prescribed it. A debate about hydroxychloroquine was sparked about 2 weeks ago when the president touted the drug as a possible game changer in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, prompting critics to accuse him of peddling unknown, unproven, and untested remedies. To date, there is, quote, no evidence that any medicine can prevent or cure the disease, according to the World Health Organization. But Sermo CEO Peter Kirk called the polling results a treasure trove of global insights for policymakers. Physicians should have more of a voice in how we deal with this pandemic and be able to quickly share information with one another and the world, he said in a press release. In the 30 countries where doctors were surveyed included Europe, South America, and Australia, and no incentives were provided to participate, according to the company. Dr. Fauci, a member of the White House coronavirus task force, has consistently and remained to be reluctant in endorsing these drugs as a viable treatment. Anthony Fauci, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, warned Friday that there isn't any strong evidence that an anti-malaria drug has proven effective in the coronavirus fight. This is from thehill.com from only earlier today. Quote, we've got to be careful that we don't make that majestic leap to assume that this is a knockout drug. We still need to do the kinds of studies that definitively prove whether any intervention is truly safe and effective, Fauci, who is also a member of the task force, said during an interview. Fauci's comments came in response to a question about a recent poll of more than 6,700 doctors in 30 countries, with 37% of physicians saying they felt that the anti-malaria drug hydroxychloroquine was the most effective for treating the COVID-19 pandemic. Quote, we don't operate on how you feel, we operate on what evidence and data is, Fauci said, adding that it was a not very robust study or overwhelmingly strong. Quote, but when you don't have that information, it's understandable why people will want to take at any slightest hint that it's effective, and I have no problem with that. Hydroxychloroquine is primarily used to treat lupus and arthritis. Quote, obviously this is a good drug for many diseases. What we don't want to happen is individuals who truly need the drug with a proven indication don't have it available. It has been suggested that when the White House and the president specifically began mentioning this drug and saying that it had the potential to be very effective against coronavirus, that one of the possible negative side effects of that was that people would start hoarding it, thereby rendering it unavailable to people who had conditions which the drug is proven through proper clinical testing to treat and to cure. So there is a certain amount of validity to maybe putting the brakes on a little bit in terms of discouraging people from viewing this thing as being the focal point for all of our treatment efforts. This drug is intended to be used for a number of different diseases, as Dr. Fauci has pointed out, and it has been it's been out there and it's been known for a very long time. I want to say that it's been used since like the 1950s or in the 1960s. So there's already been a lot of time to evaluate what the potential side effects of this drug are. So I don't quite follow the logic of why we're not more enthusiastically pursuing this route and this method of treatment, especially when so many countries nationwide have been more aggressively implementing its use. I don't have much more today. I don't really have a lot of opinions to share. I'm just trying to keep my finger on the pulse of this. There are going to be many angles emerge. Apparently, Speaker Nancy Pelosi in the House of Representatives has formed some kind of a committee with subpoena authority within the House to examine the federal response to this outbreak. A lot of people are viewing this committee as being the genesis of yet another investigation into the president, one which has very much the same flavor as the impeachment debacle over a phone call to the president of Ukraine, over the idea that the president colluded with Russia to steal the election. All of these things came up empty, and there's a lot of malice directed at the president from the House of Representatives. This committee is very likely just the same. And I think that that's going to be eating up a lot of news time once this pandemic is over. There's going to be a lot of politicizing of it, and I think that that's probably what this committee was formed to do, as well as to provide a counter narrative to the daily press availabilities by the president, the White House, and the coronavirus task force. So things are probably going to get a lot more contentious and probably very quickly. And I am going to keep an eye on those things, but in all probability, I'm going to refrain from commenting on them because I will view it as a waste of time to do so. For now, I'm just going to leave things there. About 18 minutes of broadcast, that's good enough. And I'll come back tomorrow. Be good to each other.